Hi, I'm Luke Bryant. Jazz. The word conjures up images of smoky coffee houses and berets, as well as others of vaguely irritating people like Kenny G or Hugh Hefner. However, jazz didn't always start out that way. In fact, jazz didn't start out sounding like this. In fact, it started out sounding a lot more like this. As a musician, I can say with decisiveness that jazz is some of the most interesting and evoking music to listen to, given its complexity and emotional depth. But almost more interesting is its pertinence to American history. Jazz music got us through the war to end all wars. It helped Black Americans to finally be recognized as equals, and it's one of the very few uniquely American contributions to global society. Although the style has roots in sub-Saharan rhythm patterns and stylings, jazz, as we know it today, really started around the beginning of the 20th century. At the turn of the century and the early 1900s, ragtime was dominating American musical tastes. One of the greatest and most famous ragtime artists was Scott Joplin, two of whose songs I've already played. Ragtime was popular in northern cities, as well as on the western frontier, but when the Great Migration occurred in the early 1920s, and northern ragtime met the southern black tradition of rhythm and blues, modern jazz was born. This shift precipitated the cultural movement known as the Harlem Renaissance, an infusion of African-American art and culture into Western society that was largely centralized in the New York borough of Harlem, hence the name. Perhaps the most important result of this movement was the music, and perhaps the most prolific of the music was swing. That was Duke Ellington's It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing, the song which actually gave the swing genre its name. Black artistic contributions in this time were so influential in society that they encouraged the notions that blacks were indeed equal. For example, Duke Ellington, now largely regarded as one of the most prolific and one of the greatest composers of all time, would later write and perform one of the greatest jazz standards of all time, Take the A-Train. It was contributions like Take the A-Train that would eventually give the courage and credence to the civil rights movement, and more immediately, simply acknowledged the humanity and emotional power of Black people, which gave rise to the thought that they were equal as human beings. As we move forward, we enter the 1940s and swing jazz. After After the Depression, and during some of the most intense fighting that the world had ever seen, American people needed a kind of cultural refuge. They found that in swing music. Swing music is often very fast and very upbeat, the perfect music to dance to, which, for the younger culture of the time, was both a kind of a rebellion and a kind of solace in a world gone mad. People needed a way to stay positive, and the physical energy of positive emotion translates directly into the physical energy of music. To wit, John Philip Sousa's American Patrol. Now, note that my hand doesn't actually move around that much when playing. It's a little, that song is a little square and kind of boring. Now, here's Glenn Miller's version of American Patrol. And watch my hand's motion this time. Now, did you notice how much more energy is in the motion of my hand? It's this energy that gives swing music its emotional presence, which is why people were so drawn to it, especially in such a horrible time in the world. These were the golden years of jazz, wherein the greats like Glenn Miller and Benny Goodman and Duke Ellington played. Jazz music really picked up steam as a major musical style in this time, and it helped people worldwide to get through some of the worst times on record. Okay, so as I've shown, modern jazz really developed within the United States, which makes it one of the very few uniquely American contributions to the culture of humanity. For example, back in 1924, George Gershwin wrote the song Rhapsody in Blue, which introduced contemporary jazz stylings to a more classical setting, and currently graces the lid of my piano. Everybody at the time thought that he was insane. I mean, after all, George Gershwin is the guy who would later write a song that would rhyme the word oyster with Erster. Yeah, he was kind of crazy. However, Rhapsody in Blue is now considered one of the most prolific pieces of music out of all styles of music, out of any time in history. It's absolutely brilliant. It debuted in Aeolian Hall in New York in 1924, with Gershwin himself playing the piano accompanying the orchestra. Rhapsody in Blue is an American contribution, written by an American, in America, about America. And it embodies jazz music. Here is Rhapsody in Blue. Well then, I would like to end this on a social studies note. As a musician of a little over a decade, I've listened to just about every style of music that you could conjure. And while I prefer some styles much more than others, I realize that all styles of any kind of music have at least some sort of musical validity. This is a notion that I fear we've kind of lost in modern society. I find that we now have a very narrow view of what constitutes American culture. We've become so enveloped in modern society that we can't see the whole of our country's culture, and so much of that culture is music. I would now be presumptuous enough to make a request of you. Break out of that pattern. Take advantage of all that our culture has to offer. Look for new emotional outlets now and then. Look for what speaks to your soul. For a musical example, if you listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, try Janis Joplin, or Bette Midler, or Judith Durham. If you find yourself listening to Uptown Funk on loop, like so many of my friends seem to be doing in the last few days, try listening to Earth, Wind & Fire, or Michael Jackson, which are where Bruno Mars got his inspiration, / stole a lot of ideas for the song. They don't hate me for that. It's true. If you listen to Eminem or Justin Bieber, try listening to an actual black man. They're out there, and their rap is much better than Bieber's. It's in this way that we can break out of these patterns and expand our human experience beyond this narrow view which we're accustomed. Just take something new. Take a new style of music, a new artist, a new song, and just sit back and listen to it, and really listen. See what it makes you feel. See if you like it. It's most likely that you will. So, with that said, I will now conclude this video and leave you with Woody Herman's Woodchopper's Ball. Thank you for watching.